If this was your last year of single, what would you do? Like, if you knew in 12 months that you would never be single again, how would you spend your time? We're going to make a list of all the things that we would do if this was our last year of true freedom, and we're going to do everything on the list. And we need to make the day-to-day of single living easier. It all feels way harder than it needs to be. So I'm going to ask experts to help us fix the hardest bits of being single. So like friendship, money, sex, burnout, and fear. Because we're the first generation in history who can choose to be single. We don't need to settle. And there is no one to teach us how to live like this. And the old rules are out. And no one has made up new rules yet. So this is our time to strike. Welcome to the last year of single. Hello, it's me, Bree Steele. I'm coming at you live from a hostel in Mumbai. I left Rishikesh. I did not love Rishikesh. It was all a bit too eat, pray, love, but like the trust fund stoner edition for me. And I swear, like the owner of the homestay that I was staying at, he is 100% a cult leader. Not good vibes. So I came back to Mumbai and this little crew has formed at the hostel. You know, like there's something magic about Mumbai because most people come expecting just to be here for like 1 or 2 days. And then next minute they're here for like 2 weeks. So we've got like a crew who all basically live here. And we're all pretty much around the same age. We're all traveling. We're all single. And I have to tell you, as part of last week's challenge, I got everyone to come out. We did karaoke. I felt high as a kite on life. And I think that is why potentially this group in the hostel and I, we're all so close because we sing together every week. We dance together every week. And we get those like hits of beta endorphins that Anna Machin was talking about in the last episode. And like this little gang at the hostel, like it is exactly what I imagined friendship as an adult would be like. Because, you know, like we can all agree that Sex in the City really warped our expectations of what dating would be like as an adult. But where Sex in the City fucked me up the most is my expectations of friendship. You know, like some lucky people have the type of friendships in real life that the women in Sex in the City do. But I don't. And I don't feel like many of us do. Like the older we get, the harder it is to see our friends. And so many of my friendships have devolved into like efficient coffee catch-ups. Set the scene. You like text back and forth for like a month to find a time when you're both free. And then you go to coffee and you sit across the table from each other. And you just like tell them everything that happened in your life since you last saw each other. And then they tell you that everything that happened in their life since you last saw each other. You hug goodbye, you say, oh my God, it was so great to see you, let's do it again soon. And then the whole process starts again. And like once people are in serious relationships and start having kids, like forget about it. The only time we see them is at obligation events like birthdays, engagements, or weddings. And I really hate that for us. Like it just feels like we're no longer making memories together. Because how can we, you know, when organizing a coffee is hard enough, let alone organizing an adventure, and the cost of living, like doing anything more than a coffee right now feels like too much. But how did we get here? Like, why is friendship like this now?
Society doesn't set us up to have successful friendships.
So this is Anna Goldfarb. She's the New Yorker's friendship correspondent, and she's written a book called Modern Friendship.
And what I mean by that is we're not really set up to honor friendships, to have space for them. And for our grandparents and sometimes our parents, they look to religion for their social life. And if you're not part of a religious community, we have to spend more energy keeping our social network afloat. It rests on our shoulders alone. A lot of times, our friends don't even know each other. So it's also a lonelier existence when your social network isn't cohesive. So that's what I mean. Society doesn't set us up for success. We are in charge of planning our own social calendar at all times. That's a lot. And that wasn't always the norm.
Yeah, you know, if I think about my parents when they were my age, like they had one core group of friends that they did everything with. And that group of friends were all the parents of my school friends. And my grandparents, they had church, local theatre, bowls clubs that they all went to every week. And all their friends were from there. And I don't know about you, but my friends are random individuals, sometimes groups, but mostly random individuals I've collected from like the different parts and eras of my life. And I don't have one core group that I see every week. And finding time for everyone is so hard.
Friendship is a story of time. It's desire, who we yearn to spend our time with. It's diligence, who we prioritize spending our time with. And it's delight, who we actually enjoy spending our time with. And when you're an adult, things are more complicated. You have less free time, but you have more money usually. It's a different game plan, different rules. And most people don't see that coming. They use strategies that worked for them when they were younger and then are heartbroken to find that those same strategies aren't as effective when they're adults.
Okay, so how should we actually approach friendship as an adult?
Every friendship needs a clear and compelling about. You have to like have a reason. And I think people clip connection when they don't give each other reasons. When they say, "Let's get together for a drink." And you think, "Well, why? Do you want to confront me? Is something happening? Do you want to like tell me I'm crummy? Do you want to sell me something?" Like we live in a time where we need to give more information to put each other at ease. Let's get together to try that new cafe, and I want to hear about how your job's going. And then the other person can weigh the invitation and see how compelling that is to them. When you give no information, you can't judge if the invitation is compelling. And that's why you see people short out and bail and like, ghost. It's like, I don't know why we're getting together. Basically, they don't have the language for it. They just know that something doesn't feel right.
Oh my god, yes, that is a feeling I have never been able to identify or like articulate before. Because I also hate it when people say, let's catch up with no specific like plans or reason. And it just makes me feel really uneasy. And I've never understood why, but now I do. But Anna, you have explained a way to help us with this in your book. The bathtub, jacuzzi, and swimming pool analogy.
It's based off Robin Dunbar's research. He's a British anthropologist. He wrote a book on friendship. He's done like a ton of research around it. And he found that people generally have different tiers. The first most intimate tier is your bathtub. And it's called a bathtub because it's only designed for one or two people. And for women, it's usually two people. For men, it's usually one, which is their significant other. The next outer ring is the jacuzzi. That's the 3 to 5 most intimate people in your life. And outside of that is your swimming pool of 10 to 15 people. And those are people you might double date with, maybe you pet sit for them, you maybe your coworkers. And then beyond that is the beach bonfire, which is the 50, and then the water park, which is 150. And I chose the water imagery to show how fluid these groups are. And when you get a significant other, that takes the place of two of your close jacuzzi friends. It's very fluid. People can jump in and jump out. And that's part of what makes friendship so exciting.
I have never thought of friendship like that before. Like, I've always thought of friendship as quite rigid. Either we're friends or we're not. But if we think about it, people come and go and come back again, and where we're at in life depends on who we're close with in the moment. But like, I haven't ever sat down to rank my friends, not since like the MySpace days. It all feels like a bit icky, but I'm thinking maybe we should.
You cannot go through life having everyone equal priority. Our lives are so busy and so complex that you have to really strategize. Who are the 3 to 5 people that I'm going to prioritize above everyone else and why? And let me tell you, the mental space it opens up if you don't have to guess how to respond to all these invitations that come in. It's very liberating to let go of these older friendships that you've been carrying around like luggage that don't serve you, that aren't lighting you up, that don't feel delightful. When you let that go and realize we live in a society that doesn't spell this out for you, it's overwhelming. It's much smarter to have a strategy to focus on 3 to 5 people, and studies show that that is what makes you feel love and belonging.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of us are friends with people out of obligation, or even just the fact that we've been friends for a really long time. And I like this idea of having a friendship strategy and getting clear about who we want to spend time with. But the problem is, though, like, no one has ever taught us how to change or end a friendship without it becoming like a hugely painful, dramatic hullabaloo. Like, right now, I have a friend of mine back home in Melbourne. We're having a bit of a moment, and we have for a while because we met in a very specific time in our lives, and that time has ended, and it feels like we just have very different expectations of the friendship. And I don't want to end the friendship, like, I still want to be friends, but right now I just know that this friendship is not easy, and I'm not really enjoying it, and I'm not really sure what to do.
You're about is outdated. I don't want to leave my house to see this person. And if you're not sure, you can just put the friendship on pause. People put each other on pause all the time. No one's did anything wrong. It's a very normal, expected outcome when the reason for your friendship is no longer compelling to you.
That makes sense in theory, but how do we communicate that with them? Because I feel like, we're taught how to have uncomfortable conversations with romantic partners, but not with friends. And I really would like to work on having difficult conversations with friends. Like, I am always so awkward and uncomfortable, and that kind of leads it to becoming a whole bigger thing than it usually needs to.
I think that's a great question. And part of it is us having the maturity to model for our friends how to raise issues and to show that we can overcome them. I think that's something we don't have a lot of cultural practice in. We don't have a lot of models for that, but it doesn't mean we can't do it. I think it's doesn't have to be like a huge conversation as like I need to sit you down and I feel like XYZ, although that can happen. It really is just making your friend feel cared for, and that I'm bringing this up because I love being your friend and I want to be your friend forever.
You know who I think is really good at friendship? The queer community. Like, obviously, I'm generalizing here, but I've noticed in my life that the queer people that I know rarely ever disappear into romantic relationships like straight people do. Like, people in the queer community are always out and about, so available. They go out with their partners, they go out without their partners, and I rarely have to book like a month in advance to see my queer friends.
I consider friendship basically the backbone of the queer community. Historically, is they were forced to create these friendship networks, and friendship was like the most reliable, dependable, and important relationship for these communities.
So, Tom Roach is the only person I can find in the entire world who is doing research into queer friendships. And he's also written a book. It's called Friendship as a Way of Life.
In a lot of ways, heterosexual models of intimacy and community are really overburdened with a lot of historical baggage, right? And one thing I'm very proud of in terms of being part of the queer community is that we were really innovative when it came to inventing our own models of relationships. And I can give you a number of historical examples, even like friends with benefits. I mean, that's a very queer concept, right? And there's no hard and fast rules about how we're supposed to define our relationships. So we have to invent them from A to Z. And that's really exciting and also really difficult.
Absolutely. And I think you're right. There is so much historical baggage when it comes to straight relationships, like romantic relationships, family, friendships. Like, most straight people, we never question anything. We just do what everyone else before us has done because that's what we know and it's easier to not rock the boat. And I've noticed that open communication and honesty seem to be the two pillars that the queer community are built on. Like, When you watch the reading challenge on RuPaul's Drag Race, or you hear that stereotype that all lesbians are friends with their exes, like, it is so clear that queer people are able to have difficult conversations and renegotiate their relationships with their friends in ways that most straight people just really seem to struggle with.
The relations can be really intense in these sort of queer friendship units, let's say, because the stakes are high, as opposed to straight people who have a lot to fall back on, right? You have your family to fall back on. You have the whole of society to fall back on, right? And when you've worked really hard to find yourself outside of those normative institutions and not be ashamed of yourself outside of those normative institutions, you don't bullshit anymore, right? It's basically like, I no longer have to act. I no longer have to perform. I no longer have to live up to anyone's expectations of what I'm supposed to be. And that can be a really powerful, it can also be a disaster and drama all over the place, but it can also be, if it's used with a certain sense of tact and ethics, you can be a very powerful friend that way, a very important friend to someone that way.
So, what do you think straight people can learn from the queer community when it comes to prioritizing friendships and community in our lives?
It's a great question. And I wrote a lot about the French philosopher Michel Foucault, who towards the end of his life, he really started writing a lot about friendship and the importance of friendship for the queer community. And he was quoted at one point to saying something to the effect of like, if only straight people would realize how much they could learn from the gay community, because we've had to invent how to get along with each other. We've had to invent our own relationship models. We've had to invent new ways of living and loving and being in the world and creating community. And that's a huge cultural achievement. And so if I were to say to straight people in general, like, study gay history. Look at the ways in which like the gay community has thrived on the margins, has created their own worlds.
Yeah, because the research I'm reading, it all seems to confirm that straight people value romantic relationships above all else. And I want to know, what detriment do you think that has on our lives?
Adrienne Rich, for starters, said, part of the plan of patriarchy in many ways is to separate women from one another, right? So you get married, you go into your little bubble with your husband, and then you start the family. But in general, you leave your friends behind. And I think that's sort of the normative trajectory for women in relationships. It's basically like you get farther and farther away from your support communities. Whereas queer people hopefully have learned differently that that model is not good, right? Not to be too radical about it, but the divorce rate, at least in this country, has been above 50% since I've been alive. Not to pat the gay community too much on the back, but I do think the normative trajectory of heterosexual marriage and family is to pull you farther and farther away from your friendship networks and from the people that actually might matter to you most, the ones that help you get through the day.
He's right, like, think about everyone you know who is married and who has kids. Their worlds just get smaller and smaller, and we see them less and less. And it's hard on everyone. And like Anna said, like, it hasn't always been this way, and it doesn't have to stay this way. So, like, what do we do? Like, how can we have better friendships? I think the key is to question everything and to communicate more. I know this feels so 2008, but our challenge for this episode is to rank our friends. Like, let's sit down and write a list of our top 20 people in our lives. I think the people we spend the most time with, the people we talk to the most. And next to each person's name, let's write what our about is with them. The reason why we're close. And then let's decide who's in our bathtub, our jacuzzi, our swimming pool. Because maybe there's someone you spend a lot of time with and you're like, why? I don't like spending time with this person. It feels like an obligation. Or like, maybe there's someone who you really want to spend more time with and you're like, why don't I see them more? Write the list, have a think, be honest, take your time. And once you've kind of settled on a list that feels right and like the rankings feel good, I think that we need to then tell the top 5 people in our lists that they are our priority. This is what Anna said to do. communicate to them like, you're my priority, you're really important to me. And I know that might be like really awkward and really like vulnerable, but this is the last year of single, and like I always say, like, we're doing big things to change our lives. And if it helps, I reckon send this episode to a friend of yours and use this episode as a way to enter into this conversation. I'm definitely going to do that because I'm always so awkward at having these types of conversations. The thing to remember in all of this is our friends can't read our minds. Like, we have to tell them what we feel. If they are our priority, then we must tell them. And if we want to renegotiate the friendship, then let's tell them that. Just make sure they're not hungry, angry, lonely, or tired at the time. Remember, hold. Let me know how you go. My social media and my email deets are all in the show notes of this episode, so message me, tell me how you went. And like, one thing that might happen is that someone in our top 5, if they're a parent, a carer, in a relationship, or just another phase of life, we may not be the same priority to them as they are to us. And that is so painful, but I think that's okay. It won't always be like that. Like Anna said, friendships are really fluid. People come and go from our lives all the time. So if that is the case, what can we do? We can make new friends, new single friends, or even just new friends who want to do what we want to do and have the time to do it. But look, making friends as an adult can be so awkward and weird and hard. And that is why Anna Goldfarb is coming back next time, along with the founder of Millennial Crisis, Demi Kotsoris, to help us make new friends.
We're happy to put ourselves out there when it comes to a dating context, but friendship is so, so important. And it's just so interesting to me that societally, and it's so embarrassing for us to want to make new friends.
Oh my God, did I tell you? The entire neighborhood smells like fish. My hostel in Mumbai is right next to a fishing village, and it's right before monsoon season, and this is the time of the year where they dry out their fish. Like, everything I own smells like fish. I can't remember what the world smelled like before it smelled like fish. So I'm going to go to a cafe in a different neighborhood. I found one that does the best avocado on toast I have ever tasted in my life. And I'm going to sit there and I'm going to journal. I'm going to write a list of my top 20 people. I'm going to put people in bathtub, jacuzzi, swimming pool, and I'm going to write down what our about is in our friendship and get really clear. So I'll report back to you next time, let you know how it goes. You do the same with me. And yeah, I'll see you next time where we figure out how to make new friends. Okay, love you, bye.